And we're live. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. My name is LaQuanda Roberts Buckley. Hi, long time no see. And welcome to the third season of the LiveStream Wellness Show. I am your host. I cannot believe we've been doing this for three seasons. But I am so excited to have our guest tonight. She is such an inspiration. If you follow Healing Black Women, she is our holistic health and wellness contributor. We're going to be talking about prioritizing self-love through daily holistic self-care. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you all Carolyn. So, Carolyn, can you formally introduce yourself? Tell us about who you are, the things that you do, and we can get straight into tonight's discussion.
All right. First of all, hi everyone, and thank you for being here with us. And so, my name is Caroline l'Impératrice, and I am a Haitian woman hailing straight from Canada. And personally, my journey into the holistic field, I started studying nutrition, holistic wellness, making my own products, herbal blends, aromatherapy, all of that. About 13 years ago? And that led me into applied metaphysics. So I went and did a doctorate in that. I also became a yoga teacher. And in between all of that, I started different types of energy healing. I've always been into more mystical things. And so I just put it all together and did my own blend, my own magic blend of it. And that's how I help people today. I do self exploration guidance. And lately, what I've noticed with the work that I do is that it's focused on self-love. Self-love is always the main thing that is what people need, help with, or want to improve on. So that's what I do.
All right, Carolyn. So I always, for anyone who's never watched the show before, I always allow my guests to choose their own title, their own topics. It's important for me to do that because I want them to speak to something that speaks to them and to speak to something that is a reflection of who they are and the things that they do. And Carolyn, tonight you wanted to discuss prioritizing self love through daily holistic self care. And so let's start just overall. How do you define self love?
Okay. So there's, I feel like we all have our own definition of love, because it starts there. It starts with love, and then love towards self, love towards others, and so on and so forth. So for me, self love, so it can be many things, but that I could, the main way that I could explain it is feeling good. So feeling good in my own skin, feeling good in my life. And this could be, um, it could, like, let's say I live my life in a way where feeling good is an important factor. And to me, that's how I know that I am doing an act of self love towards myself when my compass of feeling good is like I'm on track. And so self love also means having more space within. So it goes into expansion. When I feel like, because I started my journey on the other side of self love, that's how it all started for me, and I didn't know about that until much later in my life, that that's what I was doing. But I started on the other side of self-love, where I didn't feel good in my skin, my body was hurting all the time, I couldn't breathe properly, and I realized that, hey, I can't live long term like this. This does not feel good. And so I started a journey of finding ways to feel better. And that brought me to where I'm at today, where I live a life where there's a lot of space inside of me. I can breathe fully. I go into expansion, and having more space also equals more opportunities or possibilities of things to happen into my life, things that are aligned with my high vibration. So I attract a lot of feel good, well, coincidences or opportunities, possibilities, relationships, friendships, work. So fe- feeling good vibes is definitely my self-love foundation, and it can also be in relation to feeling good vibes long term and feeling good vibes short term. So short term would mean like doing something good for myself now. So for instance, eating some type of food and my body agrees with it, so it feels good, and I know that it's good for my body long term because it nourished me properly. My body really uh, assimilates that food properly. But then there's also not feeling good short term, but that has long term feel good effects. For instance, working out. I don't know about you, but when I work out, it doesn't feel, I'm not like, yes, this is fun, like my face is like, ah, and it's painful and it hurts. And the next day, your legs, you can't walk. And you know how it is. Working out is not necessarily fun short term while you do it, but the long term effects will definitely make you feel good. So that's how like I measure things in my life of, okay, what do I want to experience, and do they bring feel good vibes on a long term period.
So, Carolyn, let me ask you this. Wait, because we're talking about prioritizing, right? So, what do you think, or what are some of the barriers do you feel that people have, or that prevent people from prioritizing the self love that you just discussed?
Um, okay, well, there can be, I mean, there's as many reasons as there are humans on this planet. Okay. Um, what I find that comes back often is a lot of people have a belief that sacrificing your own wellness, your own well-being, or your own happiness, your own self-love or feel good vibes, they feel like sacrificing it for somebody else is a form of love. It's a way of expressing love. um, and maybe that might be tied in with religion, depending on your religion that you were brought up with. But if I think of the one that I was brought up with, that does come into play. And there's nothing wrong with doing things for others. That's really not the point. But when your own self-love is radiating outside of yourself, like you're so full of it that it almost just pours out of you, you're able to bring more love to people from a place of power, instead of trying to bring love to people or show love to others from a place of not feeling very empowered about in your own self, or anchored in your own self. You see what I mean? So I find that people are almost shy sometimes to do something for themselves. It's almost as if they think, oh, it's being selfish. There's being selfish, and then there's self-love. It's not the same thing. So that's something that does come up often.
I think as Black women, I tend to see this a lot, where Black women, some Black women, or we have been I don't even want to say cultivated, but there has been this thought implanted, as you indicated, that to sacrifice oneself equals some level of greatness. That
Mm.
we sacrifice who we are, and we're doing, all these things for other people, then that means that we're a great person, we're a great mother, we're a great friend, we're a great sister. you know, because I have to make sure everyone else is okay. And if you make sure everyone else is okay, then you're doing what you should be doing as an individual. And so
Mm,
it almost comes off as, it's this toxic train of thought that putting other people before yourself. And we're always taught, help others, help others, help others. But as I always tell people, if you're not putting your mask on first, as they always
mm,
on the airline, put your mask on first, then help the person next to you.
that's
If
right.
your mask on first, then how are you able, what energy are you using to support the others who need you? And if you collapse and fall, then who helps the people that you were trying to support?
Yep.
So that's where we're going into why it is so important not only to prioritize self love, but to do it through self care. And your topic, which I love, is speaking about holistic self care. So, can you give us just some general guidance on what holistic self care what it may be, and what it may look like for someone in their life?
Okay. So when we say holistic, we like what it means is looking at the whole picture. So it's almost as if your life is a pie, and you have like, I don't know, 8 slices, 10 slices in that pie. But we look at each and every slice and make sure that, okay, how are we doing in each aspect? So, finances, career, general level of happiness, your health and wellness, your love relationships, your family relationships. So we look at those different aspects to ensure that as a whole, you're doing good. Okay. So this could mean, so it can manifest in different ways. So if, let's say, you take your health, well, then, first of all, self love at the very basics requires self awareness. I cannot stress that enough. It requires self awareness, being present in your own being so that you can listen to the cues that your body is sending you. That's how it started for me. My body, I wasn't feeling good in my body. I was always in pain. I always felt like I was inflamed, like this chronic inflammation. And so by listening to that cue, I knew that I had to do something different. And that's when I started to explore. So for someone, it could mean changing their diets. It could mean, starting to exercise a little bit every day. You can do this progressively. It doesn't have to be from one extreme to the other. Oftentimes, I find that we don't have like long-term results when we go from one extreme to the next. So you can do that progressively. So it could mean for someone, okay, in the morning before I have my huge cup of coffee, I'm gonna drink a tall glass of water. Let me start like that, right? It could be something as simple as that, but even if it's that simple, just doing that thing, drinking that glass of water before the coffee, is an act of self love. Because you love yourself, you have the water, because you know that drinking water is good for you. You don't want to wait until your body is giving you signals that it's completely dehydrated before you start your water intake journey, So it's always keeping in mind that you're doing something that will help your body feel good in the long term. So it could be your diet, it could be exercises, it could be resting. Sometimes we push, we push, we push. We live in North America specifically. We have this hustle and grind mentality. There's nothing wrong with hustling and grinding, but there's a time to hustle, there's a time to grind, and there's also a time to rest. Life is made of balance, or in comedic circles we call it ma'at. You have to have this balance between putting output of energy and input of energy, of being out there doing things, being active, but also being passive. You have to find a way to keep that balance within yourself. Or else, like, what happens? You run yourself dry, you're running on empty, and you can go into a depressive mode. Your body can decide to simply shut down on you because you're not resting. So it could mean that, just going to bed a little earlier. It could mean, okay, you know what? And I know it's different for different circumstances. Somebody who has children compared to somebody who's single with no kids, two different realities. But you have to work with what you have and what you can do about it. So what would it mean for someone who has children and you got to run around after them and help one take their bath, the other one has to do their homework, and you're like, well, when do I find time for me to just rest? I can't just rest. Well, that would also mean taking time to figure it out. Sometimes we can't just it's unfortunate, but we can't just expect life to hand us like all those lovely moments of like, okay, well, right now is, this is for you. No, sometimes we have to create it. We have to be active in creating a reality that we desire to really live. So that person will have to figure out ways to make it happen, and it could be something small. It could be like, you know what, at this time for 10 minutes it's just mommy's time, and you can go in the bathroom, put on some music, do a face mask, or anything, whatever the person would make the person feel good. They can try and find some time to do that thing. And it doesn't mean necessarily excluding the people that you live with. Sometimes parents are so busy running around, and the kids and the jobs and the this and the that, that what would be a feel good moment is not being busy doing these things. It could be we're spending family time, but we're just having fun. We're playing cards or board games or watching cartoons and having pancakes. But just that moment where you feel, stress free, is a feel good moment for your body. It's an act of self love towards yourself, even towards your children, towards your partner. Everybody's in that vibe. So, depending on your situation, you're going to find different ways to make it happen. And so there's on the physical level for your health, there's also with your relationships. What are things that, you and your partner or partners, we never know, but what can you guys do to have moments where it feels like, okay, we are consciously and intentionally investing energy in our love, which not only benefits the other person but me as well. So it's also an act of self-love. you know um I mean, for me, like, I love playing footsies in bed. Like, it's my thing. I'm always looking for his feet. And I'm like, take off your socks, I need your feet. But and he knows that. But and for me, this, and he's learned to appreciate it, but for me it's a feel good moment, and then now for him too, now when we go to bed, he usually takes off his socks and his feet are available because he knows that Carol's gonna want the to rub her feet. But it's little things. Or if your partner loves to eat tropical fruits, then here and there, just buying a mango or pineapple, cutting it up and just offering to the person. Doing acts of love for somebody else also feels good to you, right? So doing these things, you just have to take the time to see, okay, well, what works for us? What do we like? What makes us feel good? And to find these little things, these little moments that we can catch in time, so that we can invest energy in, you know, loving ourselves, loving each other. It can also manifest at your work, you know? Even if you're doing a job that you don't really, care for. It happens to the best of us. A lot of us have jobs. Sometimes it's like, I'm just doing it to get money. But if you're going to spend 35, 40 hours at a job that is not necessarily your dream job, it can suck, but how can you maybe do something to make it more pleasurable? So for me, let's say when I had jobs where I was like, I don't care to be here, what I would do is, if it's possible, if I can play music while I work, have my earphones on, I would play music. It would make it more fun to be there. Or if I had good relationships with my coworkers, taking my breaks with them and, joking around or whatever, it would actually bring up my vibe and get me even excited to go to work and see those people. Or sometimes it could be you decide to initiate an activity at your job where every Friday, we do this thing during lunch for half an hour. So it gives you something to look forward to and to work on during the week. And it gets you in that feel good vibe, right? So you have to find ways to just make it work for you, but every day. And why I insist on daily self care to increase our energy of self love is because I don't know who lied to us and we decided to believe the lie, but we are not going to be here as ourselves forever. Surprise! We're all going to transition at some point and we don't know when. So instead of like thinking I'll be happy when, like some future date when I'm done getting married and having 3 kids and having my dream job and having my house on the hills or whatever it is, your happy when moment, what if you had happy moments today? So that if ever it's your time today or it's your time tomorrow, you leave with a lot of happiness, in your baggage. Like, yo, I collected these moments and these memories, and I've had them with other people. So we have a lot of things to remember me by that are positive. You see what I'm saying? So that's why for me it's important for people to understand that you are here now and today. In 5 years we don't know, but for here now today, can you full joy your life today? What can you do to make it more pleasurable, to give yourself more space to breathe, to be, to express yourself, to feel your own version of love?
Carolyn, you spoke about an array of ways that we can implement um, ways to show ourselves self love and self care. These days, a lot of people are struggling because they don't have, due to the pandemic, and they don't have the level of connection with friends and family. Um, as they had before. And a part of some of our self care routines have been disrupted. Um, Maybe we felt comfortable going to the gym before on a regular basis, and now, we necessarily might not feel so comfortable in doing so, or getting that weekly or monthly massage, and going to see friends and family on the weekends, and so life has changed for so many of us. Um, what would you say to an individual who is struggling on reforming what self-care looks like for them in the current status that we're in, where there's so many restrictions, and we're fighting for some sense of normalcy?
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm one of those who I find it rough not being able to go to the yoga studio or to not go to my waxing spot, or get my nails done. Like, oh, Lord. But at the same time, depending on the individual, I spoke to someone very recently about how she finds it very hard right now to not be able to see her girl squad, her home girls. And because her partner is very, he's trying to be as safe as possible with, the global situation, and he doesn't want to go out there. So she feels like she's kind of stuck in the house. And so I, my first thought was, well, okay, how can you find ways to stay in touch with your homegirls, and yet still, you don't want to make your partner feel too uncomfortable. You still live with that person, and you have a relationship. There's a certain level of, um, you know, uh, respect that you want to have there. But we're if we look at how reality is right now, everything's going online, right? And so if you can't see your friends, well, okay, well, what if you guys downloaded an app where you can at least see each other at home? You make it a thing every Saturday morning for brunch. You all log on for a couple of hours. Even if the kids are running behind you, it's all good. But at least you have this type of contact with them, even if it's online because things are the way they are. You don't want to get into too much trouble because then that defeats the purpose of feeling better about feeling better in your skin. But we have a lot of ways, different ways to make things work. We just have to open our minds to the fact that there are possibilities to make it work. And I'm a firm believer that when you shift your mindset from, oh, I can't do this anymore, and oh my God, like this sucks, and you keep your energy focused on the fact that something is not the way it used to be, and it's not how you like it to be. Well, if you move from that level of consciousness and you open up to the fact that, hey, there may be other ways. Let me look from here to there to possibilities. What are my possibilities? And I'm not saying like don't feel bad. Like, yeah, it sucks. It really sucks not being able to see your friends. I understand. But okay, now we're done with feeling like it sucks. What are possibilities for us to see each other, to hang out? Or, okay, working out, I can't go to the gym anymore. All right, what can I do at home? Or, outside, if I can go to like, a park and, distance myself, whatever, go for a run. Or maybe there's like, a trail, a nice trail, a hiking trail in my area I've never been because I always go to the gym. Maybe now I can go and train outside. You have to open up to possibilities, and possibilities will show up. I'm a firm believer in that, and maybe that's the metaphysician in me. But when you align your spirit again with self-love, where it creates space and expansion and therefore more possibilities to show up, what happens is they'll manifest in your life. You'll have different options come at you from ways that you didn't even think about before. And sometimes it's like it could be something. Let's say the example of the trail, of a hiking trail in your neighborhood. Maybe you've been driving by it every day. Every day you would go to the gym, you would drive by it, you never paid attention to it. But now that you can't go to the gym anymore, suddenly you notice it. You're like, hey, what's that there? You go for a walk and then you find out there's an amazing trail in the woods. And it's like a 5 miles trail, so it's perfect for my run. And next thing you know, you found a solution, right? So it's to open up our minds to the fact that there are possibilities. I can sit and think of them, or I can also do that and ask, you know, whoever you pray to, but ask for, hey, show me answers because this is really bothering me right now. And I need help finding answers to like shift my energy into something more positive, to find solutions to be able to resume certain activities in a way that's not gonna, that's not against the law. But some things, it's like, listen, it's just too bad. Like, I can't go waxing no more. They're closed. So I have to do it on my own. I had to learn.
One thing, Carolyn, is that finding that creative way. I think these times are opportunities as well to be in different environments. Like you said, the trail versus the gym. And a perfect example for me is that not far from where I'm located, there is a temple that I was going to do meditation. And I would meditate with Buddhist monks, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then they had to shut down, and what ended up happening, I started searching for communities online, and I found the local community in my area that had a meeting every week. And these are people who lived in the general area that I did, that I never knew existed. And they would have meetings on various teachings every single week. And I also found another community that was, that's even larger, but because they're worldwide as well, they offered meditations with sisters and monks in Vietnam and in Japan, and you would log in and you would be in the presence of all these people
Wow.
online. who are sitting in meditation, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning in the States. And
Wow.
an hour and a half you're meditating with a sisterhood that lives at a monastery in Vietnam. And you're like, wow. And it's like, so there are some very beautiful gems in some of the things that I have been able to do personally. As I, if you follow me on Laquanda on Instagram, restarted my fitness journey at the end of last year,
Yeah.
and I started working with a personal trainer. And although I don't go to the large gyms, I go to the gym here at my where I reside, because they have social distance protocols, because you can only we have to reserve slots to go into the gym to keep things safe. But I had been for the past year building equipment, buying equipment to exercise with, little by little. And the thing I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with is when we start talking about certain practices, they're like, oh, I don't have all this money to do this. I don't have all this time to do this. And I think you were so key when you said, it's about starting off with the little things. For me, I knew that one thing I did not want to do is go walk outside. I was like, I don't want to get it. I was like, I have asthma. I don't want to be in pollen all day. I don't want to be around cut grass. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't. And so I was like, where can I start? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy and invest in a treadmill. And so I started there in a treadmill, and I was like, I have a small space, and I was like, let me find one that folds up. And so I found a small treadmill that folded up, and I was like, okay, that's my starting point. And over the year, I would buy little equipment that would replicate what I would use in the gym. And
Mm.
now that I have my trainer, I have a choice to either go to the facility where I located, or I can do things at home. And it's about those modifications, and really expanding your mind, because I had my gym membership for 4 years. And so expanding your mind and not letting the current situation just hit you so hard that you become blinded to any opportunities or possibilities that you have to still be able to continue what you do.
Exactly.
Um, you know,
Exactly.
I love getting a massage. I absolutely love it. My partner um, bought me a massage mat, a full body massage mat with heat, so that I could have that experience and do it from, my comfort and safety for me. So a lot of this is, and if you tap into the excitement of being creative, it was like,
Yes.
okay, this is what I love to do. This is a potential restriction on that. How can I make this something creative?
Yeah.
One thing, a perfect example, my partner lives in um, a different state. We are probably about a 2.5 day drive from each other. We live on different coasts. I live on the East Coast. He lives
Ooh.
closer to the West Coast. So we're far from each other. And but we find ways to connect all the time. Valentine's Day, we spent Valentine's Day together. We open up gifts, we video chat, we record. Um, we involve my daughter in it, and we each take our turn opening our gifts. He will have dinner delivered to the house, and he'll have dinner at his house, and we're all sitting at the table together. He in his
That's
area,
cool.
and us in our area, and we're eating dinner together, and we're talking and laughing. And those things, and he and my daughter um, will watch a show together. They'll get on the phone or get on a video app, and they will both log in and start streaming the show and talk about it.
So
And
cool.
it's those creative creative things, going that little extra mile that really helps with that connection, because right now um is, yes, we miss people, but we also miss we miss that connection. And
Yeah,
that
exactly.
connection is so pure, and is so and key to our humanity, having that connection. And so now is the time that we need to be creative with our connections. If
Yep.
you have Zoom meetings a lot for your job, and you come home, it's like, oh, I don't feel like I really want to see my people in person and things of that nature. Jazz, like you said, jazz that event up, that call up as much as you want to. Um, my partner and I, we will he'll tell me, he's like, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. He loves Starbucks coffee. And I was like, oh, can we have coffee together? And he was like, sure. And so I'll wait till he get his coffee. Then I'm at home and I'm making my coffee. Then I go to my favorite chair and he goes to his office and we'll video chat, and we're both sitting there drinking coffee. And it's that connection, having shared experiences where you're not just sitting talking, that you're both actively doing an activity together, whether it's
Yeah.
sharing a meal, um celebrating a holiday together, having a cup of coffee or a tea in the morning,
Yeah.
having a prayer or meditation circle together. Those active things. My sisters and I, we have calls where we may be sharing things that our thrift store finds. So just still having that connection and excitement. But it is about being creative, and it takes a little bit more energy, but like you said, if you put that out there, you get that so much, and it
Oh
feels
yes.
so good. It
Yes.
feels
I could
good, and
feel
we
it just
need
from
to.
your story. I
Yeah.
felt it.
Yeah, that vibration, that higher vibration felt so good. And I'll tell y'all my Valentine's Day gift for my partner. It was he had already um spoke with my daughter to record the event, and we're sitting there and we're eating dinner, and she opens her gift, and then he's like, okay, now you open yours. And I'm taking it out in this beautiful little square box, and he was like, you just pulled the top off of it, and I pulled the top off of it, and these little butterflies spring out everywhere, and they're flying all
What?
over the place, and I'm like, what? And then it's like candy is spread out all over the table. In the
Wow.
middle is my favorite cake, which is red velvet cake. And
Mm-mm.
the box had pictures of me and him, and a picture of me, him, and my daughter that we had taken. And it was
Oh,
magical. And you couldn't have said that it didn't feel like a face to face interaction. Because
yes.
he was there. And when we looked at the video, you could hear him talking through the phone, and we're all the three of us are laughing together.
Oh my
And it's like,
God.
but those are the type of experiences that we can create for one another, and
Mhm.
create for ourselves. Having a really nice family event and dinner virtually, and
Yeah.
talk about each other's cooking, and you know and
Why
and
not?
yeah, those that's the the vibrations. Like, there is a barrier, but you have to understand, and this is so key, your connection with people is beyond a physical presence.
Yes.
Because how many times have you physically been around people and it seemed like you were by yourself? So
Mm-hmm.
your truest connection with another human being goes beyond physical presence.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the part that you have to tap into. That beyond the physical presence asset. And if you really think about it, you've been doing it your entire life. And
Yes.
this is that you've been doing it your entire life, and this is just another opportunity to make that connection even stronger.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why it requires, like you said, a lot of creativity. Because now you have to find ways to, like, okay, it could be even with your parent. Okay, I want to do something nice for my mom. Okay, you know what? Let me buy her something on Amazon and just send it, ship it over to her, and it's this nice surprise. But it's not even necessarily about like buying something for someone. Is just any type of gesture that shows that you care. You know, and whether it's for someone else or for yourself, is just to know that, hey, you know what? Because I care for me, or because I care for you, let me do this thing with that being the intention in your mind, that let me show you some love, or let me show myself some love. And sometimes it can it can be like, okay, let's say my one of my sister-in-laws and I, like, one of our things is food and wine. Okay, that's us. And sometimes, let's say, when I was in Montreal, and we're having, like, not the most fabulous day of our lives, but if we call each other and we're like, yo, food and wine, immediately our energy like shifts. It's just, even if we cook something basic, but it's the fact that we get to do this activity together, and we know it brings us both good vibes, you know?
You know, and when you think about, and like you said, like, it's not always about what you buy, it's about the gesture, right? And gestures can be small, simple things. A perfect example was um, of a family friend of ours. Her mother has pre-existing conditions, so she really cannot have guests. She cannot have guests. And so her birthday was coming up, and she sent a message out on Facebook, and she said, to her Facebook friends, would you all mind sending my mother birthday cards because she can't have guests? And people swarmed her with birthday cards. Something like a simple 50 cent, 99 cent birthday card can make a person feel connected, and you're not physically there. And that's like, think about how many times you've gotten something as simple as a card and the person wasn't physically there, but you felt that connection through that gesture, and it
Hmm.
raised your vibration. It raised your
Yes.
vibration, but there wasn't a physical, they wasn't physically present, but they thought it was the thought that they had put into acknowledging who you are, and you connected with that thought. That is the connections that we have to nurture during this time. Those are
Oh,
the intangible connections, because those are the connections that are going to be pulling us through these moments. So yes, we know we're tired of Zoom calls, and we know we're tired of virtuality, but connections surpass being in someone's presence. And so you have
absolutely.
to ask yourself, when you're doing something, even for yourself, how do I connect with myself if
Mhm.
I physically cannot be in a particular area or around particular people. How do I connect with myself? Because we connect with ourselves every single day, and it has nothing to do with going here, there, and everywhere.
Yep. That's
And
one
so,
relationship you can't run away from.
yep, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna be with you. And so, connect with, could find ways to connect with yourself. Um,
Exactly.
I am a person who loves light and is very, very specific. Um, I don't like sunlight in my room. My room is completely dark. It is completely dark.
Okay.
However, I love light. There is about 15 different sources of light in my bedroom. And depending on my mood, I turn on those sources of light. Now, these are things that I've just collected over the years. I'm not going out buying stuff in things. Some of them are like $3 string lights that I found
Mm.
on clearance. But it is something about, similar to the lighting that I have behind me. It's
I
something about
noticed.
being able to control lighting, and seeing that it calms my mind. It puts me in a place of relaxation and peace, and little things. I have a rule in my house: around 8:30, 9 o'clock, overhead lighting does not exist. Lamp lights. We're using lamp lights, and we're using them on the lowest wattage. We're dimming whatever needs to be dimmed, but we're not turning on, because I want my mind to be able to calm down and bring me to a position so I can get into a posture of peace. And that is
Mm.
self care for me,
Yes.
for my
Yes.
day. Um, Self care for me looks like when I get home, whatever I wore to work, I'm immediately changing. I am disconnecting from that person that walked out of the door at 7:30 in the morning. I
Mhm.
disconnect from her. I'm home. Learning to be present is a part of self care, because sometimes
Yes.
we get in these zones where we disassociate with what's around us, and we're just going. But
Autopilot.
yeah, you being present, like you're drinking something, but when was the last time you actually experienced what you were drinking? Did you smell it? Did you really
Hmm.
taste and enjoy the flavor of it? Did you enjoy the coolness of it? Did it feel satisfying? When did you allow yourself to feel the sensations that you were experiencing as you drank it? That's being present. All of those things are being present in that moment. And we also have to get back to being present in the moment, and not, like as you saying, operating on autopilot. Let me just do
Yeah.
this just because. Do things intentionally, with intentions to give yourself an opportunity to experience peace, to
Yes.
experience
Exactly.
separation. So your intentions going into something is just as powerful. Um, so I would always tell individuals, um, when you are going on a path of self care, make sure you're looking at your intentions as well, so that you're manifesting and you're putting yourself in a positive space as you move into the activities that you're going to be doing for yourself. There are going
Exactly.
to be moments that where you do things to sort of de-escalate, but you really want this to be routine. So when something does
Yes.
happen, you're just immediately going into your space, immediately going into your peace, immediately going into your wellness routine. These things are happening automatically because these things you're doing just as often as you're brushing your teeth.
Exactly. And that's why I liked your example that you gave earlier. When you come home from work, and you remove, like, the clothes from work and change into, like, your home mode. But just these little things, having these little rituals and routines, like you said, because when I started my journey into, like, more self-love, I had to establish these new routines into my life, these new rituals, I like to call them. And today, my life is full of them, and but they help me feel better in my own skin. And even, like, let's say the example you gave with work, like at my former job, when I was working from home, when everything started to happen, I would have my desk, like, usually my desk was, like, let's say facing this wall. But for work, I would move it so it would face another wall or face a window, whatever. And that would be like, this is the office. And then when I'm clocking out of work, I put the desk back, like, against the other wall. And now the room's energy shifts. And now it's like, oh, now I'm home. I'm not at work. So doing these little things to just help us, like, reconnect to ourselves or to a space of ourselves that's more relaxed, that's more stress free, you know? So good on you for having these little rituals, even with the lighting and all of that. Like, it's almost as if we have this Pavlovian, for lack of a better term, but like this, we're doing the whole Pavlov test on our own selves, where we know that when I come home from work and I change, like you said, I immediately go into a different mode. My energy completely shifts. But it's because we've trained ourselves that way, right? By doing it constantly. So, what if we started to implement more rituals in our lives with the intention, like you said, with the intention of bringing more peace to ourselves, more love, more relaxation? We implement those little routines into our lives every day, even if they're small and they might seem insignificant, but in the long run, you'll be like, oh my God, doing this has now become part of my life. And it's hard to imagine my life without it, because whenever I do this, it feels so good. And to have that every day with all the mess that's going on, but to have this every day, oh wow, like so grateful. So definitely rituals, routines for your self-care is very important to implement into our lives consciously.
Yeah, consciously. And it will feel, as when you begin to add little things here there, it may feel like a little weird, like, why am I doing this? Because when I first started just taking my changing my clothing and getting into the most comfortable thing, the thing that makes me feel the most comfortable, that's what I change into. There's a particular outfit in my house that makes me feel the most comfortable. When I get home from work, I change into that. And so it may feel like people are like, what are you doing? Look, once you get that routine going, that switch will happen. That switch will happen. It's like, okay, this is my mode. I tell people in the household, help, I need a break. It's like, give me some space. Let me go sit down with my day and come to my point, and then I can come and see what you may need. Um,
Yes.
and that separation and boundaries are important with self-care. please say
Yes.
please say no. Please
Oh
say
my
no,
God.
period. You do not need to explain
Amen.
why you are saying no. Say no,
No,
and that's it. Do not
absolutely.
feel guilty about saying no. Boundaries are self-care, people. Boundaries are self-care.
Shirt out of it or cap out of, I don't know, like a big flag. But yes, boundaries. Oh my goodness. If there's one thing that I've learned the hard way, oh Lord. But and even with myself, I've had to, like, implement boundaries with my own self. Like, Carol, like, when you do this, like, by that time, stop, like, stop pushing yourself, like, over the edge. Like, I've had to have boundaries with my own self so I can create a space where, okay, here I can bloom, I can flourish. But when I go beyond that, then it doesn't feel good anymore. And I need to stop that and I need to respect that. And once I respect my own boundaries, it's much easier for me to be out there, and to implement those boundaries with others. I don't feel guilty at all. I don't feel bad. If I'm like, nope, then you don't like it, too bad, boo. But right now, for my own well being, for my own inner peace, I have to set this boundary and I have to respect it for my, for my own self. But that's something that, oh my God, so many people that I've talked to, it's like, the B word. It needs to. I'm telling you, we got to make a shirt out of this. Lord,
You know,
people.
and I would also tell people, if you're having issues with boundaries, especially with yourself, this is self boundaries. Um, a way that I look at it personally is I look at the different aspects of who I am, the different functions and roles that I have, and I will write. I'm always a writing down person because I want to see where my time is going, and I tell myself, work LaQuanda is not coming into my house. When you leave that office, whatever's happening in that office is staying right there until you pick it up. LaQuanda, who is healing, a founder of Healing Black Women, is working on Saturdays. At a certain point, she stops, and she is not the founder of Healing Black Women
Yep.
anymore. She is LaQuanda, who wants to go sit in her favorite chair and drink some orange juice and light some candles. And so, I do that with myself with the intention of telling myself, yes, you have all these different roles, but these roles only have a particular time in which I will operate in them. And I am intentional with my time. I am very intentional with my time, and I'm very protective of my time. And when it's time for me to stop, and I look at my clock and I was like, oh, I'm not, tough. I just had my like, tough, tough. Like I've really gotten onto myself about getting up in the morning because I was like, LaQuanda, you are best when you wake up and the sun is not up yet. For that is my peace. That is when I can my routine. If I get up at my designated time, which is usually before the sun rises, my day goes much smoother. And so I've been challenging myself, get on that, stay on your routine that starts your day off with the vibration that you needed to start on.
Yes.
And sometimes we place ourselves in a position where we're running late or we're packing too much into either the daytime or the nighttime, and we need to find a balance.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I do at night to prepare for the next day, and there's certain things that I do in the morning because I know I'm going into the kitchen to grab some juice or something to some warm coffee to go sit in my chair. So I may already grab my lunch to prepare for work. However, Saturday afternoon, I've already cooked lunch for the week. So I'm not worrying about what am I going to eat. I'm just going in the freezer and
Yes.
grabbing what I've already prepared. Those moments help you during your week and help alleviate stress. We have to look for ways in our schedules and with our time to where we can give ourselves opportunity to rest. When I get
Yeah.
home from 8 hours of work, I don't necessarily feel like going in the kitchen and cooking dinner. And so, what I do on the days that I do cook dinner, there's a 2 hour break between when I walk through that door and to when I start cooking dinner. If I don't want to cook dinner, I got food that I prepared on the weekend that's frozen that I can take out
Yeah.
and prepare for myself. But those little things make a huge difference. Do I want to spend every Saturday cooking these large meals? Not necessarily. I was like, no, I don't want to be in my kitchen for 2.5 hours on a Saturday. However, when Monday through Friday hits, and I'm tired, and that time is short when I get off work, that's where the value comes in. So
Yeah.
planning. Planning is also key to self care.
Exactly. And that's why, like, to me, it reminds me of the fact that you can do things short term and it doesn't feel good, but it benefits the long term. So that falls right into that. And even like, let's say cooking, right? Taking 2.5 hours, 3 hours to cook all your meals. How can you make that experience a little more pleasurable? Because you know that in the long run, it benefits you. That's a given. You know that. But then while you're living it, well, might as well make it fun. What I do when I'm home is on weekends, I have specific radio shows that I listen to at specific times. And that's when, like, let's say during that 2 hour period on Saturdays, that's when I cook. So I turn on the radio and I'm dancing, I'm chilling, and I'm cooking. And maybe I'm having a glass of wine while I'm cooking. I'm having fun. And then on Sundays, during that 2 hour radio show, that's when I'm cleaning, let's say, you know? And so I turn on the radio and I'm having fun while I'm cleaning, you know, but that's my vibe. Everyone has to find their own vibe of what can enhance an experience for them. But definitely planning and organizing yourself where you can things are just more efficient or easier. Again, ease. To me that's it's part of my definition of self-love, to bring more ease into your life, you know? There's already complicated whatever's. How about I make it as easier as possible for my own self? So like you said, at night I make sure I do all the dishes so that in the morning I don't have to look at all the dishes and be like, oh Lord, like I have to go through all that. And especially while I'm here, because the other day I stepped out and I came home too late. I didn't do my dishes. Guess who greeted me in the kitchen? A cockroach, okay? So no, I cannot not do the dishes. I have to do them. You can't have any type of food thing laying around. But in the morning, it makes it easier. When you have your little routine, you do your coffee or you do your lemon water, everything's clean and ready to go. So why not do things that on the short term it's not pleasant, it's not fun doing the dishes, but you know that tomorrow morning when I wake up and it's time to like do my thing, cook breakfast, everything's ready to go. I mean, that feeling, it's worth it. It makes it worth it. So planning, organizing ourselves in that way is definitely an act of self-love. Like, yeah,
And
I can
give
attest to that.
yourself grace and time with all these things. I know we're talking about a lot, but these are things that I have developed, over years of finding out what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and as evaluate, and really look at, how your time is spent and how your energy is spent. Look at how your energy is spent, people. As you look at those things, then that will be like a foundation to know what direction to go in when you're starting to build out your self care routines.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
And
Carolyn, I
oh,
like to keep us. Oh no! I like to keep us at about an hour because look, I won't
are
keep
we
y'all.
there yet? Oh, we're
Yeah, yeah. Look, you can never. It always happens. People like talking. I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk for about an hour. It's not gonna feel like that. It's like once the
there yet.
conversation goes, it's gonna flow. It's like trust me.
Wow. That I didn't see the hour go by at all. This was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you
So, do
so
you have any
much.
closing thoughts for us with regards to self care, and let everyone know how they can reach out to you if they wish to?
Okay. So, well, first things first, I would invite people to have a clear definition for themselves of what self love is. And then from there, see in your life what's the first thing that comes at you. It's not necessarily about your health. It could be about your job. Like, what's the first thing that comes at you where you're like, it doesn't feel too good. Like, it's not working. We're not in the same, in the same vibration. And then from there, see what are my possibilities. So opening up your mind to like what are the possibilities to make a change, so I can make the situation feel better, feel more good. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Go online, research. ask, your the divine spirit that you pray to, but ask for help, and you will receive answers. And then don't be afraid to try things out. Maybe you're going to try one thing, this other thing, it doesn't work, but then the fourth thing works, right? Um, it's it's not set in stone. Like, our self-love journey is always shifting. Today this works, but tomorrow it doesn't, but you keep going. And the fact that you keep going to make sure that you enhance the quality of your life is self-love. So I hope people, like, keep that in mind, that it's always an act of self-love, even if things don't always feel very good. But the fact that you keep trying to make it better, to enhance the quality of your life, is self-love. And if anyone wants to reach me, well, I'm on Instagram, Wildflowers in the Sun with underscores. And I'm also part of the team of Healing Black Women, so they can see me on there as well.
Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you want to catch the replay, it will be available later this week as I relaunch laquanda.com. Be sure to check us out every month, where I will be hosting another interview and discussion with our next guest for the live stream wellness series. And soon, hopefully Friday, is Friday the 19th? I think so. Yeah. February the 19th, 2021. Expect the relaunch of laquanda.com, where you can find Minding Your Purpose podcast, my blog, as well as previous episodes of the live stream wellness show, including tonight's discussion with Miss Carolyn. Thank you so much, Carolyn, and thank you so
Thank
much to
you.
everyone who joined us tonight. Everyone be blessed.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.